Hi guys, and welcome to this episode of the Happy Knitting Podcast. My name is Julia and I'm coming to you from the UK, and today is actually New Year, so it's the 1st of January 2021, and I hope that all of you had a good start to your new year. If you're coming back, then thank you so much for being a regular viewer, and of course, if you're a new viewer, welcome. I really hope that you will enjoy this podcast, which is all about knitting and sometimes also crochet and spinning. I'm recording this in the middle of the day, but it is super dark and dreary and wet outside. I never leave a chance to drag my baby and husband outside for a walk usually, but today it is so disgusting. So I thought I would record a podcast instead. But it is not only wet, it is also very cold, and that means that the front of the house where I'm recording right now is also very cold. So I will probably do this rather quickly, and I hope that you understand. But I do have quite a lot of things that I have finished in these last 2 weeks, so let's talk about those. First up, what I am wearing is my finished pink velvet sweater. So this is a pattern by Andrea Mowry. I talked about the modifications that I've made in the past. Most importantly, that I didn't use a fluffy yarn for the contrast color in my Colourwork. I just used Brooklyn Tweed Loft, which was my first time using Brooklyn Tweed yarn, and it was absolutely lovely. I really enjoyed this yarn. The only thing that I didn't like about this pattern is when I finished the sweater and I blocked it and I put it on, I noticed that the neckline was very wide. And not in a flattering way. I think partly because it's very wide as written in the pattern, and partly because there is very little ribbing on the top. It wasn't very stable at all. And I have a baby who loves to pull on sweaters at the moment. Like my ribbings on all of my sweaters are like this, and he does the same up here because that is his latest thing. So it just got worse over the one day that I wore the sweater after finishing it. For a while I thought I might have to actually rip back the ribbing, which would be a pain because it's a dark yarn and it's also quite a fragile yarn, and more importantly, the sweater is knit top down. So I would actually have to snip a stitch, unravel it, and then knit the ribbon back up. But luckily I found that just doing some crochet stitching around the edge at the back, I think that did the trick. So I just kind of started on the side here. I might have some ends still hanging off actually. And I just chain stitched every second stitch around the back, so the back kind of draws it back up, and now it's still an open neckline, but it is much nicer than it was before, and I think I can live with it now. So yeah, that is my pink velvet sweater. I also finished 2 more things. So first, I also finished these socks. I showed you these last week. These are some Volumizer twin socks, so it's Volumizer sock yarn, and I don't remember the colorway name. I looked for the tag and I couldn't find it, so I'm very sorry about that. But they're just plain vanilla socks, and I think I'm going to keep those for myself because I knit quite a lot with this yarn, but I only ever seem to knit socks for Kai out of this yarn. So I want some Volumizer socks for myself, and these might be them. So yeah, nothing super special to write home about. It's just a 60 stitch sock with a fish lips kiss heel and some 2x2 ribbing. And yeah, those are my socks that I finished. I actually finished them, I think, on December 30th. So they were my last pair of socks that I finished in 2020. I need to look up how many pairs of socks and projects I finished, but I know at least in terms of projects, I think I was around 70 finished projects in 2020. Something like that, which, considering I had a baby, I'm quite happy with that, and that is somewhat the average I've had over the last couple of years. Anyways, one more project that I whipped up pretty quickly is a baby hat, because my baby is just growing and I basically have 2 hats for him. I had the orange Merida hat, which is, I'm not sure if you remember, it's in quite a lot of my photos on Instagram as well. It's this orange and white brioche hat, and he had that basically since birth, and that's been a really good hat that just seemed to grow with him. And he also has the beloved bonnet by Tin Can Knits. But yeah, it was really time for a bigger hat. So what I did is I whipped this up, which is, isn't it so cute? This actually is a somewhat modified version of the Merida hat as well. So I'm sorry, I really can't remember the designer's name, but it is the hat name is Merida, which is Merida. So I'm sure you can find it on Ravelry or wherever you get your patterns. So what I did is I essentially just stole the ear flap instructions because those worked really well. I really enjoyed knitting them the last time, and I know that they fit really well for my baby boy. So I did the garter stitch ear flaps from that hat pattern, and then I just did a stockinette hat. I did my own decreases, and oh, it's so cute, isn't it? He actually tried it on and wore it for like one walk yesterday before I even blocked it, and it seems to fit really well. And the one I had made before, it still kind of fit, but it was getting a little bit too short, so it was riding up, and this one totally does the job. I added some bands, which I've done to all of his hats because that's the only way to kind of keep them on his head right now. And the yarn that I used is actually some leftover hedgehog fibers yarn. This is the colorway Flutter, which was in a sock yarn club from, I don't know, a couple of years back. I actually used the rest of this yarn to knit myself a ripple bralette. And I still have yarn left over, so it's just kind of the yarn that never ends. And I held it double, and I love how it came out. I really like holding hedgehog fiber yarn double actually. And this makes me want to pull out some more skeins and actually maybe do some hats for myself and Kai or I don't know who. I just feel like holding hedgehog fibers yarn double at the moment. It's really fun. It creates a really nice fabric. I used a 3.5mm needle, so it's still relatively tight in terms of gauge, and it is so cute. I really love this little colorful bonnet or hat or whatever you want to call it for my baby. All right, so what have I been actually working on? Well, yesterday was New Year's Eve, so I had to do a New Year's Eve cast on, of course. And I decided to just give myself some really simple stockinette knitting, which makes sense if you see my other projects because they are not simple and they're not stockinette and they're not mindless. So for Christmas, I actually gifted myself two sock blanks from Felt Fusion, who is Shadow. She is a UK-based dyer, and I've been liking what she does for years, and I keep buying her yarn, and I don't knit with it that much, so I thought I would change that. And since having a baby, I have discovered that anything where I don't have to wind up yarn just makes my life so much easier. So sometimes I will actually choose yarn that is either balled up or in a sock blank or just comes in balls because it's commercial yarn, because it's just so much easier rather than having to wind all the yarn first, especially because I don't have a great yarn winding setup here as well. But anyways, this is the sock blank that I'm knitting from, and I love the colors. It is so beautiful. I actually have the other one here that I got myself. This one is, of course, very much my colors, very pink, very girly, but yeah, I love this one. So I decided to just cast on a plain vanilla sock, and this is what I knit last night. So I just did a 2x2 ribbing, and now I'm knitting some stockinette, and this is what it looks like. Yeah, so that is my sock project. Not very much to talk about, but I thought I would show it anyways. And then I have two more complicated projects. So maybe we should start with my tier 4 cast on. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I am here in the UK, and actually just when I recorded 2 weeks ago or whenever it was, we have a tier system here. It used to go from tier 1 to tier 3. Having to do with corona measures, lockdown, that sort of stuff. And we had just moved into tier 3, which was the highest tier at that time. And then actually within like a day, they had just made up a new tier because things just spun out of control, and I think we all watched the news, so we don't have to go into that. But it was really, really sad and really annoying, and I knew that lots of people here in the UK were exactly in the same sort of boat, and since then even more people have entered tier 4 here. So I decided to do a tier 4 cast on, and the idea was just to cast something on that was super colorful and made us happy, and there were actually quite a few people over on Instagram who joined in, so that was really, really fun. Thank you to everyone who joined in. And yeah, I could have chosen like a simple project, right? But instead I chose to basically do something really complicated. I had, well, it wasn't a rainbow set. I had just ordered all the colors of the rainbow from Wool, which is a Finnish yarn brand. I got these, I don't know, at the beginning of 2020 possibly. I got them just before Wool raised their prices. So I had just gotten a couple of skeins in different colors. They're 50-gram skeins. And I thought, well, those yarns would be perfect for a tier 4 cast on because I hadn't known what to do with them for a while. I didn't just want to do color work with 2 colors. I wanted something super colorful to do with those colors. So I picked almost all of them. I think I also have an orange and a green skein, which I didn't use. But I picked those. I have 5 colors and all of them are linked with their proper Finnish colorway name on my Ravelry if you're interested. And I also picked this color of gray. This is a cone of Jamieson and Smith 2-ply jumper weight. So I like to buy this yarn in cones because it is much cheaper and then you have a ton of yardage. Why I got this super boring gray, I don't know. Probably because it was on sale, because that is what I usually do. Anyway, so I decided to do something with this rainbow of Wool and my gray cone of Jamieson and Smith. And yeah, because I don't know what I'm doing, I must be crazy. I decided to make my own all over Colourwork sweater. Look at this mess. This is ridiculous. So rather than picking a pattern and taking ages to figure out gauge and all that stuff, I decided to just do my own thing. And usually I knit my Colourwork sweaters top down, and I could have just done like a Strange Brew sweater by Tin Can Knit, something like that. But I really just felt like knitting a big Colourwork tube. So I decided to do an oversized Colourwork sweater bottom up that I'm just designing as I go. Yeah, this may end really, really badly. No one knows. But so I cast on some ribbing on some tiny needles and then went up to, I think this is 3.5 millimeter needles for the body. So I think I was aiming for about a 24 stitch gauge, but I haven't measured it because it's just a tube. Who cares? It's going to be an oversized sweater anyways. And this is my Colourwork progress. I'm not sure if you can even see. It all rolls up. I think once I block it, the ribbing should stay down. I am hopeful, otherwise I'll just knit it again. But yeah, I've made some progress on this bad boy. So I'm just kind of making up little Colourwork patterns as I go and switching around the colors, and I have no plan of what I'm doing. I have not charted this out. I'm just knitting, and I have decided that this will be a dropped shoulder design, so I will put in some steeks for the armholes, which I've done before, so I'm not worried about that. And then I need to figure out some kind of collar / neck opening. I haven't figured that out yet, but I still have some time to think about that. And then I'm planning to just pick up the sleeves from the steek stitches and do plain gray sleeves. So I think the sleeves just being one color as well as all of the ribbing will be in this gray should kind of bring it all together and tone it down a little bit. And yeah, this will be a very, very colorful self-designed sweater to wear next year, and I'm very excited about this. And it looks really complicated, but it really isn't, because I'm just kind of picking colors as I go, so I don't have to keep referring back to any pattern. I'm just doing my own thing, and yeah, it's been bringing me a lot of joy. So that is one full-on Colourwork sweater that I'm working on in fingering red yarn. Where's my project back here? And then, because of course, that wasn't complicated enough. I had to start another one. So let me grab some cold coffee. A while back, I was talking to Kai and he didn't really know what to get me for Christmas, and I always kind of want like a special yarny project from him because yarn is just my favorite Christmas gift. And I stumbled across a sale from Kit Couture. So Kit Couture is a Danish brand. I actually met them in Oslo at the Oslo Striker Festival 2 years ago, 1 year ago. I have no idea. And they basically only do kits. So they have kitted garments, they have kits for accessories. I think they even do some sort of embroidery stuff as well. And so they basically focus on designing things and then selling you different kits that come with everything you need for that pattern, and they offer kind of different color combinations. So I don't think you can get these patterns outside of those kits, but I don't know. Anyways, one sweater that I really like is the Vana Pullover, and one downside of this pattern, and there are a few, is you don't even get a picture of the finished sweater with the kit. But I will show you what I have in terms of progress in a second, so then maybe you can get an idea, or you can just look it up on the internet. But essentially it is this full-on Colourwork garment that I saw around Black Friday, and I was like, oh my god, that looks amazing. It is actually knit out of alpaca yarn. I know, who am I? But yeah, again, it just comes with this yarn, so either you take it or you leave it, I guess. And I thought, we have a really cold house, maybe an alpaca sweater isn't too bad. So this is their own alpaca yarn. It's actually really, really soft. I am enjoying it much more than I thought I would. And yeah, so I got the kit for Christmas, and of course I had to cast it on. On the kit information, before you order it, you don't get that much information. I just remember it said like the knitting level or your confidence should be expert. But I was talking to a friend who is knitting this with me, which makes it so much more fun. And we were like, well, it's a Colourwork sweater, how hard could it be? Well, it turns out this thing has a 29 stitch gauge, I think. So it has a tiny gauge, so I'm knitting it on sock needles. And it has a 40-row chart. And the instructions for it are very, very minimal. And I'm not saying this to talk bad about this pattern. I'm actually really enjoying it, but I'm not sure what I'm doing to myself really. But yeah, this is what I have so far. So it is a sort of bottom-up construction. So we started with the sleeves. You knit 2 sleeves, then you knit the body, and then you join it all together and do some kind of raglan yoke. And this entire sweater is done with this kind of colorwork. So it starts off in my case with the yellow and black, and then at the top it'll be black and white, which I think will look really, really, really nice. I love these colors. They also had a pink version, and I was so tempted to get the pink, but I decided to get something different because I can't knit everything in pink, can I? Yeah, so I think it looks really gorgeous. I really love it, but it is taking a while to knit because the chart, it does, like the color work doesn't even look that complicated, but it's just a 40-row repeat, which is already a bit of a bummer. And then this is a Scandinavian pattern, so I think you can't see anything if I just show you this. This is pretty much the entire instructions for the entire garment. So they are very, very minimal instructions, as you get with a lot of Danish patterns, Norwegian patterns, and I think even in Germany, like the old kind of patterns that we have are kind of in that style. So it will just tell you to increase in pattern, and then you kind of have to figure out where each color goes and all of that, which I don't mind, but of course, again, it's not the easiest thing to do, especially again with a 4-month-old and life and everything that goes on at the moment. But actually it has also been really fun to do something very different, have a new challenge, and yeah, I love the sleeve already. Like, it is really, really gorgeous, and I think this sweater is going to be crazy warm, and I hope that I'll have it for years and years, and then it'll be worth it. So yeah, I am knitting this on 2.5 millimeter needles, which is kind of ridiculous. But here we are. The first thing that I had to order were these sort of stoppers, because my stitches came off every time I put this down. And that was just an additional hazard that I didn't need with this garment. So I'm actually waiting on some slightly bigger needles, because I do like to knit color work on those tiny needles when I have to do small circumferences. Usually I very much like knitting on a magic loop, but with color work I always find that that gap where you change the needles can be a bit iffy. So I enjoy using these small needles, even though it does take me a lot longer. So I'm actually looking forward to knitting on the body of this at some point. Who knows if it'll be this year. Because even though it'll be a lot more stitches, I think it'll be much more quicker for me to knit. But yeah, that's where we are. This is the Vana sweater by Kit Couture, and I think this should be a fun project to follow along. So there we go. Alright, and that is it in terms of my knitting. I've also been doing a little bit of spinning, but again, this room where my spinning wheel lives is crazy cold. So I'm taking a bit of a break right now, and I'm also getting quite cold. So I think we'll just move on to what's been happening, and then I'll just come back with another podcast at some point and show you my spinning then. So in terms of what's been happening, essentially we had a very low-key Christmas and New Year's, and well, what else would we do anyways? Again, we can't do anything really except go to the supermarkets when we really need to, which of course we are limiting and ordering online as much as we can. So all we do is, go out for a couple of walks, and besides that, we've just been cuddling up at home. Christmas, just the three of us, was actually really nice. We did some Zoom sessions, and besides that, just had a very quiet Christmas. We managed to even make some turkey. We had some takeaway yesterday for New Year's Eve, because oh my god, my boy is usually really good, but these past few days, let's not even go there. But we are doing very well, and obviously after this coming weekend, Kai is going back to work, so we're kind of settling back into our old routine, and I'm really looking forward to spring and just waiting for it to get a little bit warmer. I really enjoyed the Christmas period, but I'm so excited to get rid of all the Christmas stuff now. That is the plan for today, to take down the Christmas tree, to take down all of the decorations, except for maybe some fairy lights. I think I might keep some of the fairy lights around. And yeah, that is pretty much it. So if you've been following me for a while, thank you so much for your support throughout the last year and everything. And of course, I really hope that you're all doing well. I hope you're staying safe and just doing the best that you can. And so I will see you again very soon. Until then, thank you so much for watching. Have a good day. Bye bye.